What is going on, guys? It's your boy Edward V, and today, interestingly enough, we're going to talk about a study that hasn't come out yet. There's no data on this study, but it's an important study because it's going to answer an important question in which a lot of people are consistently looking for an answer to this question. If you do intermittent fasting, can it lend to building muscle? Can it lend to hypertrophy? Does it not build muscle at all, or does it even hurt when it comes to building muscle? We're going to go ahead and break it down in this video. Stay tuned. Okay, jumping right into this video, this article was posted on news.fullerton.edu, and this comes from the California State University, Fullerton. And one of the co-directors for the Center of Sports Performance, Andy Galpin, is actually trying to answer the question, does intermittent fasting have a positive, neutral, or negative element to building muscle? Now, he's a kinesiologist that's looking at performance specifically. He feels that most of the studies out there about intermittent fasting tackle some internal and biological elements like blood pressure and hormonal elements, as well as body fat burning and body fat loss or weight loss, but not many of them look at actual muscle building. Now, to his knowledge, there aren't many studies out there that look at muscle, mood, sleep, performance, all together. Now, there are some studies, and I've even referenced the 16-8 study that they did, the 8-week study looking at muscle building or retaining muscle while utilizing the 16-8 method, and I'll link that study down below for you to take a look at. But intermittent fasting actually showed that there was a benefit to it in retaining muscle with the 16-8 method while strength training for 8 weeks. And there are some studies looking at 48-hour fast and looking at the moods of the participants, if they became more aggressive or if they became less aggressive. And I can link that study down below for you to take a look at as well. And there's some sleep studies and some performance studies, but he's going to combine it all and look at all those different metrics with the actual participants. And what he's going to do to measure muscle size to see if muscle is decreasing or increasing, he's going to do an ultrasound. Now, the participants are age 18 to 25. They are currently in the study as we speak. It's going to be an 8-week study, and he's going to utilize time-restricted feeding, which I think is perfect for a study like this. I always feel that time-restricted feeding, the 16-8 model, eating for 8 hours and fasting for 16, is the best when it comes to muscle building if you're going to stay within the realm of intermittent fasting. So if you want to continue to do intermittent fasting, I always recommend the 16-8 because it increases your level of protein synthesis compared to something like 1 meal a day or something like the warrior diet. You have more of a frequency of food intake for a greater amount of time while still getting benefits that come from being in a fasted state. Any more hours of eating and then you're putting yourself in a position where you're not getting any of the benefits from intermittent fasting. Any less and you're putting yourself in a position where you might be taking away from protein synthesis. Now, keep in mind there's so many elements of protein synthesis. Resistance training is one element. Being at a caloric surplus, that's another element. Protein intake, how much protein you actually take in, that's another element. And meal frequency, how many times you're actually taking in calories, that's another element. So you could still work with those other three and not that fourth one, but you want to get as much of it as you can. You want to get as close to it as you can while still reaping the rewards and the benefits of intermittent fasting. So 16-8 model is a perfect model for a study like this. Now, this is not me just grabbing a study that is pro-intermittent fasting and saying, look, this is a pro-intermittent fasting study. I have not been in communication with these people. I do not know if this study will be good or bad. I do think that the protocol or the methodology is pretty good so far with the limited information that we have. So I'm preemptively telling you to look out for this study. Now, preliminary findings will be released in the spring, but just a heads up, this is a study to look out for, especially if you're trying to understand, does intermittent fasting actually help me build muscle? That's an important question. We do have some studies that show that intermittent fasting helps in retaining muscle, but we don't have many studies that show that intermittent fasting can help with hypertrophy. Maybe there's a mechanism in there that it could help with hypertrophy, regardless of that added protein synthesis element of continuous eating. And they're gonna have a team of 25 scientists that are gonna be working on this. So if done right and if the methodology is done well, I already know that they're not gonna be eating during their fasting periods because that's not done during 16-8 protocols, which I love. If they use like the alternate day fasting or 5-2, they always allow them to eat about 25% of their intake, and that skews the numbers a lot. But in this instance, it wouldn't happen, and I'm pretty psyched about that. So look out for that study from the California State University Fullerton from Andy Galpin, because I'm definitely going to be looking out for that study. And as soon as the full study is released, I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you. And of course, I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And of course, guys, as always, I'll see you on Wednesday for another FAQ. Peace!